Y'all, my channel is sponsored by the Orchid Supply Store. It is literally your one-stop shop for anything and everything you could possibly need orchid related. They have pots, they have media, they even sell orchids. Use my name, code Hillbilly, in the code section for a 12% viewers discount. They also do free shipping in the US. So go check them out, y'all. Hey y'all, it is Paula with Hillbilly Orchids. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody's having a fantastic weekend. This is going to air Monday, so I hope you had a fabulous weekend, and I hope you have a wonderful week ahead as well. I wanted to talk to you. I noticed last night our temperatures got down to like 34. It's a little chilly. The grow space was actually 69 degrees today when I came in this morning, and it's got 90% humidity right now, but it is only 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me grab my little thermometer and show you. And so oh, it's dusty. I need to dust, don't I? So yeah, 90% humidity and 68 degrees Fahrenheit right now in my grow space. So things are cooling off, things are slowing down, and you can definitely see it, and you can definitely tell. That's the thing, with when you have a grow space and you're used to it, and you see what's going on and whatnot, and how things are working and changing, then that, like in the summer, everything moves fast and it's just on a boogie schedule, Then when the temperatures slow down, things start slowing down as well. So it's also time to slow down your fertilizer, especially if you're using the Jack's two-part system, which is what I do. Well, I got to talk a little bit yesterday with Raquel, and he's always preached that. Any video you watch him do, he tells you with the Jacks, it's best to try to do a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you're using, whatever your one part of 1500 is, you use the same of the 51226. So in the wintertime, I need to lessen that. They're not growing as fast. They don't need as much nitrogen. And I mean, this doesn't pertain to places that it don't get this cold. So that's another thing to take in consideration. A lot of places like Florida, their cold is not as cold as it is here. So you can still kind of keep going with them. They're not as bad. But places like here where it was 34 degrees last night and it was like 68, 69 when you come in, actually it dropped a temperature or dropped a degree for some reason. Yeah, so when it's that cold when you come in, then, some things have to change. So I'm definitely changing up my parts per million that I'm doing my Jack's two-part system in, because they don't need as much. First of all, their watering slows down too, because they don't dry out near as fast. That's one thing. And that comes with using bark and moss and that kind of stuff. Now, if you're in inert medias, that's different. They do dry out a little better. And you can, being in inert medias is more like they are when they're hanging on trees and stuff. They can take, if it rains 2 or 3 times a day, they can handle that because there's such air around the roots, there's not a problem. Now, sometimes with bark and stuff, you can't do that. They can't stay wet that long. So you have to kind of space out your watering. If your pot's not dry, don't water it. If your pot's still wet, don't water it. If it's dry, water it. It's just that simple. There's many times I'll be going through these plants, while I'm watering, and I'll be like, this one's still wet. It's not getting watered. And it'll go a whole nother week till I water it again. And that goes along with using bark and moss. That happens, especially because moss holds a good amount of water. So, yeah, I mean, but you don't want to overdo it on them. So that's what you do. But also, where I run like 200 parts per million in the summer, I'm going to lessen that amount in the winter. I'm going to try to, anyways. Basically, I think right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run like 75 parts per million of the 1500 and 75 of the 51226. I think that's currently what I'm going to go with over the winter. So, and I think that'll be okay. I think that'll do good. And I will continue flushing like I always do. And normally when I flush, then I add the dolomite lime back to my pot after the pot's been flushed out and everything. And that's a real good way to remember to use your dolomite lime, because it's a good, it has many multi-purposes. It is good calcium and magnesium for your orchids, but it also helps keep your pH balanced. Keeps your pH up in your pots and everything. So, and of course, as you know, pH is a factor, and that's what this meter is for. So after you mix up your water, which Jack's has great stabilizers and buffers in their mix that help take down the nutrients to a level where these guys can absorb it. Sometimes it don't, because like in my environment, and I don't want to say my environment, and my water, like me and Rick was talking about this yesterday, most water companies like to keep the pH really high, because then their pipes don't rust out. So it keeps pipes going longer. If it was more acidic, it would eat the pipes out and rust the pipes, so they'd have to be replacing them more often. So they keep it acidic. Well, my pH in my tap water is like 8.2, 8.4 sometimes. It's really high. So when I mix up my Jacks and I test it, it actually brings my pH down to 7. And 7's neutral. 7's where like most tap waters usually are. So I have to lower mine even more. So, and sometimes you have to do that. So don't worry if you do, because sometimes you just do. If your pH is high, then you're starting off with it high. Normally, if you'd start this off in a 7.0 water, then it's going to take it down to where it needs to be for the plants to absorb this, around 5.3 or 6.3, 6.5, around in there. So yeah, but we all don't have that. Like I said, my pH is extremely high, so I use this meter to keep an eye on my pH. It can change. It does vary, but it's usually never under 8.2. I have never had it be under 8.2 ever. I even like double checked it, because I have like aquarium fish tank pH checkers and stuff, and yeah, I had to actually it was burning my goldfish. My water was burning my goldfish, because normally goldfish like alkaline water, but it was too alkaline for my goldfish. So I had to actually put in crushed coral, which leaches in the water and brings down the pH. So you see, I had to do the same thing with my aquariums. So yeah, and so I can test my water with my aquarium stuff too, to let me know what my pH is at as well also. So I've been kind of keeping a dual check on things with that. But just kind of going over some of the things. This is what you need with Jacks when you use the 2-part system. It's not really a thing where you can use a teaspoon per gallon of water. You can't really do that. Jacks is super strong. It is formulated for cannabis growing. It's not really formulated for anything else. I mean, it is made for commercial growers of cannabis and that type thing. And so you have to adjust it a little bit for your orchids. Like me and Rick talked also, when a plant's out in the wild, a plant's not going to get 100 parts per million of anything coming down off of a tree. So that's, we are kind of giving them overkill, but I try to keep it lower in the winter. I do try to keep it lower in the summer, but that's where flushing is real important as well, because when these salts build up in the pot and everything, that's real detrimental for orchids. You don't want that. So, but anyways, the main item you need with using jacks is a TDS meter. And that's where, like I said, you take your mix, and sometimes if you're only mixing a gallon of water, you have to, at first when you're figuring out your ratio, you just use a little bit, and you take a pinch and you put it in there and you mix it up real good, make sure it's dissolved, and then you test it and you go by what it says on here. If it comes up and says 50 parts per million, then and you always have to watch, because when this gets high readings, it'll say real small times 10. But yeah, you have to watch that, so just be careful. But yeah, and then you go back and you get another pinch. Usually in a gallon of water, it just takes a couple pinches, and your nitrogen is where you need it to be. So it does not take much. And then again, like I said, 1 to 1, so you need to use about the same amount of your 5-12-26. This fertilizer will last you a long, long time. And recently, Amazon has been selling it in smaller bags. When I bought it, I had to buy the big 25-pound bags. And I'll have that fertilizer forever. You know what I mean? I'll never use all that. But yeah, and that's how I do it. But see, I have it figured up because I use 3 32-gallon garbage cans of water. So I have it figured up per weight. And what I did is I sat down one day and I figured it up, and I put it in the water and I checked it and made sure that, 17 grams is what I need to reach the nitrogen level that I wanted. It reached the 100 parts per million of the 1500. So I have it figured out like that. But see, I had to do that on a different scale because I use a lot more water. When you're using just small amounts of water, you just have to take pinches and just figure it out and keep an eye on it with this meter. This meter will be your best friend. But I'm telling you, it does, and I know that seems like that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. No, it is so worth it, you guys. Within 1 week of when I first started using jacks, I noticed a complete change in all my plants. The leaves started getting harder. The roots started coming out on them like crazy. The growth just started firing. I mean, they just went berserk. Have you ever noticed if you're fertilizing, or you say you fertilize and then the next week you're flushing? So you go to the sink and you flush your plant. Then did you ever notice a big rapid growth in it all of a sudden? You've moved fertilizer around in there, so the roots are getting back to the nutrients and it's taken off in growth again. And that's what's supposed to happen. That's just the same effect as when it's raining and water's coming down that tree and that orchid is getting water and nutrients and calcium on it. Then boom, there you go. It's like the, just boom, suddenly hits it and then it starts growing. It takes a big growth spurt and you can see it. And me and Rick was talking about that too. If you say orchids grow slow, then you're not doing something right. I hate to say that, but it's true, because orchids are not slow growers. They want to grow, they want to perform, they want to do the best for you. So yeah, if your orchids are growing slow, maybe think about changing your fertilizer. Maybe try the jacks. I'm telling you, everybody that I've ever had try it has went back, or stayed with it and not went back to their old stuff, and they're amazed by it. So yeah, it's definitely worth it. But like I said, back to enough of the plug of it. And like I said, I'm not sponsored by Jax or anything. I wished I was. I'm actually, the sign that I won, I'm going to put it over there and start filming with it on the wall behind. So everything's going to be filmed with that sign, because everything in my grow space is powered by Jax. It really is. So, but yeah, like I said, I use the scale because I have bigger volumes of water to deal with than, I'm dealing with more than a gallon. I'm dealing with more than 5 gallons. So it's easier to do it by scale. But yeah, and basically that's it. I mean, I'm not going to go over it more and say, hey, switch, try to, try this. It's well worth trying, but anyways, I want to get you a look. This is a calcium nitrate, the 1500. It is, it's little, mine's actually kind of got a little moisture in it, but I have silica packs in it to help keep the moisture out, because it's so moist. When it's so humid in here, when I take it out, you'll see it start melting, because my grow space is so humid. But you can see it's little round white balls, and it melts perfectly in water. It melts a little slower in cooler water, but you have to be careful of that. Watering with cold water anyways. You shouldn't water with real cold water. And but it pretty well mixes decently. And I personally, when I mix it, I use the 15, that's Epsom salt. I use the 1500 first. I prefer that because I want to know, I want to get that nitrogen level straight in there. But this is the 51226. It looks like sand, and I too have the gel packs in here as well. It basically looks like sand with big white chunks of something in it. So it's basically what it looks like. And I will talk about it a little bit. I do occasionally use Epsom salts in my mix as well, just a little bit. This is pure magnesium, so it does increase the number on your TDS meter. It is a hard salt. It will add to your mix. And basically that's it. I'm thinking, me and Rick did a lot of talking yesterday. I'm thinking about going back to filtering my water, but I'm going to try to get an RO unit. So that's something else that, I'm going to work on, with my extra money from the channel, getting me an actual RO, reverse osmosis unit. And they're coming pretty well on sale on Amazon, and they're relatively cheap. They're really reasonable now. Rick said that his has been running good, and he said he's had his for years, and it's still only reading like 5 or 6 parts per million when it comes out. So he's like, you don't have to change the filters very often. And normally my starting tap water's not that bad. In the summertime, I noticed it was like more around 55 parts per million. And you need to know that. You do need to know what your starting tap water is before you even get started in this. But like he said, and I do agree with that. I've always said it myself, there's 55 parts of something else, that's in your water that you don't know what these plants are getting. Like he said, your water, they put at the treatment plant, they put chemicals in it to make microorganisms and stuff not live in it. So is that affecting your plants in any way? There could be a possibility of that. So filtering your water, then you're putting straight fertilizer in it. Then 100% what your plants are always getting each time you fertilize them. Does that make sense? So yeah, when you start with 0 on this meter of your water, then I'm putting this much nitrogen and this much, micronutrients and macronutrients, and So you know what's in there. You know 100% what your plants are getting. And I do like that theory. But before, I was using two zero water filter machines to filter my water, and it was really a pain. So I think maybe a regular reverse osmosis unit would benefit me more. I might, like I said, go back to that route, but we'll see. That will happen in due time. But basically, I just wanted to let you know that's what I'm doing is I'm dropping my parts per million now. Like I said, I'm dropping my nitrogen, and I'm dropping the amount. I won't be feeding, two or 300 parts per million. I will be feeding less in the winter because they can't take all that. These guys would surely build up with salt and everything if I kept the summer amounts going with them. So and when it gets colder, you have to change what they're getting. So, yep, that is basically it. And just wanted to go over a little bit with y'all. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. If you could, please give me a thumbs up. If you could share it, that would be beautiful. If you could give me a super thanks, that would be perfect. That would really help me get a reverse osmosis unit, do my foul wall. Like I said, there's a lot of things that are going to be happening here in the grow space. We're going to really be switching things up, and yeah, it'll just go towards that. It'll be towards making my room a better viewing opportunity for you guys. So that's what it's going to do. So, yep. With that said, I appreciate each and every one of you beautiful, wonderful people stopping by and hanging out with me. And bye for now, y'all. Till we meet again.